Same, team 3, £200 budget. You've got 30% for engagement and 70% for traffic. Team 4, they're all quite similar. 30% on engagement and 70% on traffic. Team 5, is that the same? Yeah, 30% on engagement and 70% on traffic. Team 6, you've got 20. I need to change this. That's my fault. Sorry, because it's too small. If we have 20%, you just hardly have any budget. So exactly the same, 30% on engagement and 70% on traffic. 7, 50-50 budget, okay, on engagement and on traffic. Team 8, very similar to the others, 30% on engagement and 70% on traffic. And then team 9, we are changing this based on our discussion earlier. You're going to do 50% awareness and you're going to do 50% leads. What I would like you all to do as a team is to go through this document when you're in your breakouts and have a discussion, check that's all right, that you're happy with it and it's based on the discussions you've had with your clients, same with the target audiences, okay? What we'll do before we go into breakouts, I will show you the media plan. So I know you've seen it in a previous track session. I shared this already very briefly. So, okay, there's quite a lot in the media plan. So this is just an example, a completed example. What I've done here is highlighted the different campaigns, or I should say the different stages of the funnel in different colors. So you've got column A, which is your awareness, is in orange. Your consideration campaigns are here in kind of whitish beige color, and then gray is conversions, okay? So what I would like you to do is for each campaign complete a line, okay? So an example here is an awareness campaign. Awareness is at the funnel stage, so top of funnel, but the objective in meta, so the meta objective is awareness, yeah? And then we know, if we look at the next cell here, the KPIs for awareness is reach, impressions, cost per impressions. You may need to revisit your slides from track session 2, where we talked about objectives and KPIs. So make sure you do go through that and make sure you've got the main KPIs here, okay? Then you'll allocate your budget. So based on the document that I've just shared with you, you'll know for your awareness campaign how much you have, and for all the other campaigns how much you have. Your campaign name, we looked at this the other day. Make sure you add your WIC cohort, your team number, client name, whether you're doing an awareness campaign. So this is an awareness campaign. If you're doing traffic, you would add traffic here. And then the date. So for everyone, it will be October 2023, because campaign build day is in, I think it's the 9th of October. So your start date here will be the 9th of October, and it ends, I will tell you when it ends. We are running them until, check out the calendar. What did we say? Monday 16th, I think at 10 a.m. Okay, so I'll put that in the chat. Everyone's got it. Start date 9th of October, and then end date will be 16th of October at 10 a.m. I've put the 10 a.m. won't be for your media plan. You don't need to put that in here, but the 10 a.m. will be important for your in Meta Ads Manager when you're putting the time, okay? When you're putting the end time in your ad set in here, okay? You need to just set that to the 16th of October at 10 a.m. Yeah, you just change that there. Okay. Right, next, audiences. So audiences, so this is where you would split out. If you have multiple audiences, you may need to add a line here if you've got more than one audience, which most of you will have. And here you'll just put in, these are examples of interest-based audiences. So add a name if you can to the audience. This will be, sorry, not if you can, please add it. That will be the name that will go into Ads Manager so that you recognize what your audience is called. Okay, so you know it's interest-based IB, trendy postcodes, women, 2025. Okay, 25-55. Add in, if there is a specific gender or age, location, add all of this information and interests. Now, in interests, what I would like you to do is, based on the exercise you did the other day when you went into the platform and looked at the interests, make sure that those interests in here are actually in Meta Ads Manager. I know that there are some teams that have had quite a few interests that were relevant, but actually that aren't in Meta Ads Manager. So have a look. It's definitely important to do. And then on the end here, what I would like you to do is just put your estimated audience size. Okay, just put in if it's 1.2, 1.7 million. Okay, just so that when I'm reviewing your media plans, I know how big it is and I don't need to go in to your campaigns to have a look, because really you're not building the campaigns yet. What we need to do is get your media plan finalized and reviewed, signed off by the client before going into build. But you will go into Meta Ads Manager to use that, to look at the interest, to test things and see what works and what doesn't work. Platforms, you would put Facebook, Instagram, or if it's just Facebook, you just put Facebook. If it's just Instagram, you would just put that here. With placements, we just looked at this morning. You would say whether you want this to be on the feed, on stories, on reels. I'm going to put a caveat to placements, and I think we might look at it team by team, and we may look at doing this automatically depending on what creatives you have. Simply because I think without seeing this, it might be tricky to explain, but the placements are set at ad set level, so at audience level. So within your audience, you pick where you want your ads to show, right? So whether it's a reel, a story, a feed, and if your creatives, you have a mix of reels and static images and carousels, it's going to be quite tricky because you want to obviously show your reel in reels, but you don't really want to show your carousels in reels. It's not going to work. So we may look at doing it automatically, but again, what I'd like you to do for this, have a look at the placements where you think your ads should be. Where should they be shown? Should they be on both feeds? Should they be on Explore, Stories, and so on? Okay, so have a think about that. And list them all, or a majority of them. You don't need to be, this will be, the media plan is a mix of, it's information that you share with the client for them to sign off, but some of the information can be a little bit more high level because obviously they don't need to know precisely where the ads are going to be shown. You're the experts and it's up to you to decide where that will work best, okay? Right, so up till then is everything about your campaign objectives and your audiences, up till column J. The last bit here from column K to the end is what we looked at this morning, which is your creatives. So you can just see, looking at this, for me personally, I think this afternoon in the session, in the breakouts, when we go through breakouts in a minute, there's no reason why you cannot complete these columns today. Okay, remember, media planning day is on Thursday. This is getting you prepared as a team to discuss the different audiences, how you want to spend, what type of creatives you want to create for your clients and so on. So for me, I think up to column J would be a bit of an aim or a goal for you to think about today. Okay. Next part, when we look at the creatives. So we've got the ad name. So this is where, if you remember, I mentioned that you want to be able to find your ad in the whole list of different ads that you've got in Meta Ads Manager. There's a lot of different ads. So you want to clearly mark them so you understand what they are. Now, you may choose to use the same image. So if it's this one here, the top one, image, Darcy dress, you may choose to test that one across different campaigns, but you've got different captions. So it's really important that if you do that, that you explain clearly that this is for awareness and this audience. So you would need to put in the name audience as well, so that you know you're testing two different things. Otherwise, you have two identical ad names or similar, and it's very tricky to know which one performs best without looking at the whole campaign structure in Meta. So ad name here is image Darcy dress. Then we know that this is an image that's going to be shared. The media description, so this is more for you to know what it is. So what is the creative that you're going to be producing, or that you've got. This is an example again. Still image of hand with a ring. This is actually should be changed now. I think this is on a previous one. It's woman, wearing floral dress or something. I can't see a dress. Then you've got your primary text, your headline, description, call to action. So you would put in your primary text. Remember, that's what goes, is your copy, basically at the top of the ad. Add in your headline. Okay, so that's the bold words, the words in bold that are beneath your ad. There are some examples here again, so you can see what they are. Description is optional. As I've mentioned before, I've put some in here as an example, but do have a look and see whether it's necessary for your ads, if it's adding any value. If it's not, you don't need to do that. As I said, it's optional. So this can stay blank if you don't think it's the right thing for your ads. And then finally, your call to action here, okay? And this is what I mean by doing screenshots. So for some of you who have clients who are offering gifts or products, you may already have some of these images that you can share here. So what I encourage you to do is do screenshots of them. Okay, I'm going to show you an example actually of a previous media plan in a second from a previous cohort to show you what that looks like. And then the URL. So where are you actually sending people? So when you're setting up your ad in Ads Manager, when you're doing your creative, so if you go to the ads part of your campaign, where we looked at URLs, here, your website, where are you sending people? So some of you have got a download, where are you sending them? If some of you have got a specific product or a specific dress or a gift, where's that landing page on the client's website? That's the URL. So here, this is what you would put in this column here, okay? Very briefly, you can see what the ads look like if it's a carousel. So we're talking about adding 2, 3, 4, 5 different images, okay, of the carousels. I would say with the carousels, if you just have 2 images, it's probably not really enough. You want to have a few more. As you can see here, there's 5. You could probably make it work with 3, 4, if you don't have many images. Then here, line 4, you've got that's just a screenshot of the video. Okay. If you've got the video, you can put it in here or a link to where they can view it. Ultimately, I think that your clients will want to see that as well. And then down here, we've got testimonials. So that's what you would do for awareness. If you're running a traffic campaign, you would exactly what we've just done now. You would make sure it's a consideration stage of the funnel. You'd update all of this information here. You'd think about your audiences in the same way that we've just done now. I know the examples here are mainly custom audiences, but you can run a interest-based audience for a traffic campaign. Okay, so you would just make sure you would have this information in this cell here, something similar, but in here. And the information's, you just basically complete all of this and it's very, very similar. Exactly the same thing for consideration. And if you've got leads or sales, you go through here, you make sure you update your KPIs here in column C, make sure that they're relevant to your objective. So for leads, we've got leads and cost per lead. You update your budget, all of this information, and then you just make sure that your call to action will be unique or will be linked to what your objective is. So for instance, if you're running here a leads campaign and you're trying to get people here, in this case, it's lookalike audience of people who downloaded a PDF download, and you want to get them to download something, then you would use the download call to action. Okay. I think there's some questions. Sky?
Yes, sorry. In the last column, what is the URL? Can we use a UTP on Facebook so we can track the source, or you just want to put like the proper link of the website of our client, let's say?
Yes, the link. So, for instance, if, I don't know, this, what's your client's name? Or what's their email?
Midnight Owl.
What's it called, sorry? Midnight Owl.
Oh, yes.
Is it these guys here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
If, for instance, you are promoting this notebook, yeah, and you're going to be sharing some of these images. Okay, she's got two. Fine. You'll be sharing these images. You would put this link to shop in Ads Manager in here. That's the specific link to where you want them to go. Having said this, it doesn't have to be this particular notebook. You might want them to look at a few products, then it would be just the shop here. Yeah, if they want to look, if they got the shop or something. So it's the link to where you want them to go on the landing page. Some of you have, I think, a download. So it might be that your client has got a link with a specific landing page for the download, and that's the link that you would put in here. If you don't have a product, if you don't have a download, so when I say your client doesn't have a download or a product, you would just simply put the website, but it's best to guide them to, somewhere specific. Yeah, that's the last column, why, URL.
And another question, I think you mentioned in the previous session, not the one we had in the morning, like the previous one, that because the budget is so small, it's better to have like one audience in each of our campaign. Is this like, because like we usually have two objectives, like traffic and engagement, you want to set like two campaigns, like two specific audience for these two?
So for the one that is 70%, the majority of you got the 70%, I would test two audiences. For, I'm trying to think what I agreed in the end with Angelina, whether we're going to do one. I think we'll do one audience for the 30%, simply because the budget is really, really small. Ideally, we'd have a large budget and we could test more. I know I'm going slightly against what I recommend, having more than two audiences, but with £60, what you'd have is £10 a day, if that, £8 a day, and that's for one audience. So if you're splitting it into a second audience, we're talking about £4 a day. My concern with that is that the ads won't go very far, they won't run. So I would say one audience for the 30% campaigns, and then two audiences for the 70% campaigns. Okay, this is for
when we split the audience, we have to keep the same media format for the same ad.
If you do automatic placements, you can just select, you can set up reels, you can set up graphics and carousels and do it as an automatic automatic wrong word, but yeah, automatic placement, basically, where Meta chooses it for you. But I think with that, with the placements, I might give advice team by team. So here, if it helps, I can add in one audience and then two audiences. Now, within that, where you've got one audience, I still want you to have at least two creatives, okay? Because otherwise it's just too thin. You're not really able to test enough. I'm going to put here two to three creatives. Okay, and this strategy, sorry, I never written that in team one, but this strategy is going to be the same for everyone. If there's any questions, I'll come into all of the breakouts this afternoon, in this session, and then answer those questions. Okay. Sorry, Tyler, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, since we've got for the targeted traffic, since we've got 2 audiences for that, I mean, would it matter if the interests are the same for both audiences, or?
It depends what you're testing, because if you're doing, when you're saying you've got 2 audiences, technically they should have different interests. What are they? Who are they?
Okay.
You wouldn't test 2 identical audiences within the same campaign.
Okay.
You want to test audience. What team are you?
Team 8.
Okay. For example, audience 1, yoga, people interested in yoga. Audience 2, outdoor nature. They have different interests. They may overlap, but ultimately you're testing people who are really into yoga and that type of fitness, and then people for outdoor nature will be slightly different. Okay, so your audiences would be different. They'd be audience 1 and audience 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes there's some overlap, so you have to be careful with that.
Okay.
Especially when I look at your audiences here, you've got so many. So I don't know as a team if you've decided which audiences you'll look at, but there's quite a few here.
Okay.
Gisola?
I'm just slightly confused because last week when I was creating the ads manager, I had more audiences of the screenshot, and then when I was doing the homework, it said I should narrow it down. And then when I narrowed it down, you said I should have a bigger audience. So now I'm just a bit confused of how many audiences, because yeah, I had a bigger audience. And then
you had 5 or something. Was it your team?
And then I made it smaller because it said 1 to 2. And then in the homework, you told me to do a bigger audience. So now I'm a bit confused of how many audiences.
Right, that's 2 different things. So number of audiences, depending on which campaign you're running, you could have 2 audience. So you could do one, or which team are you, Gisola?
Team 6.
Okay. So you've got 30% budget on engagement and 70% on traffic. So for the traffic campaign, you can do 2 audiences. And for engagement, you can do a 3rd audience. But they might be similar. So you have to think about which audiences you're going to test on which one. The reason I said it's too small, because when I think the screenshot was 1.2 to 2 million, 1.2 million is quite small compared to 2 million. So you might want to make that bit broader. And when I say broad, it's not an additional audience. It's looking at the interests that you've picked, revising those and making sure that they're probably closer to the 2 million mark rather than the 1 million mark, if that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, then. Thank you.
Cool. And I think if we're looking at like individual team feedback, I'll come into the breakouts and do that so that everyone can get started with their media plans. So having said all of this, we're going to start building the media plan. That's what we'll be doing now. Okay. So this is columns I think up to placements is column. Sorry, my mouse keeps on jumping. 1 second. Column J is placements. So what I'd like you to start thinking in your teams is the building your media plan, thinking about the funnel stage, your main objective, which you have in the strategy, awareness, traffic, engagement, and so on. What KPIs would you measure? Okay. The budget, so you've got 200 in total. Remember, that's the split. You need to split that in between your 2 campaigns, depending on the client strategy that I shared. Your campaign name, audiences, platforms, and placements, they're 2 separate columns. And then this is more if you've got the time, start thinking about your ad format, media description. So that's all the headlines, ad format, and I'm not sure why that's there. Sorry, I'm trying to think what media description is now. Sorry, it wouldn't be media description. It's the name of the ad. So ad format and then the name of the ad. Okay. And then primary text and call to actions. So in Google Classroom, you will have access to the slides we've just looked at, the breakout task, which is what we've just looked at now. There's a little bit more information there about examples, okay, of what you can look at. So for instance, the number of campaigns, how many campaigns, the objectives. And actually, I think for this, I don't want to confuse you because I think this hasn't been updated with the right budget. So I'll update that quickly. But then thinking about the type of audiences that, I can't edit this, sorry. Thinking about the audiences, the platforms. So think everything basically to think about for your media plan will be in here. In your Google Classroom, you've also got access to a creation checklist. This is what we'll be using on Thursday. So you don't need to worry too much about this now, but basically it's a checklist of everything you need to have ready for your media plan. It's quite detailed. It's this first section here. I'll go through that in more detail on media plan day as well, or if you've got any questions, but it's basically just checking that you've added all of the information to your media plan. It's literally step by step, and some of this information you'll be able to already tick off before even starting media plan day on Thursday. And then you've got within media plan, you've got this example that we've just looked at here, which is the first one, the template that I think some of you may have already downloaded. Sorry, that's an example. It's this one here, media plan template. There we go. That's your template. Okay, so this is what you'll be completing today. And then I think this is an example. This is I'll open it in Google Sheets. And this is an example of one from a previous cohort. So another Wicker or Wickers, sorry, a team of Wickers put together. So just to show you, they had an awareness campaign. They had two different audiences, audience 1, audience 2. Audience 3, they had a bigger budget, so they had 3 audiences. And then they also did a traffic campaign where they did 1 audience. So have a look here, see how they've completed it. For the creatives, you can see they added the images, the product images here in column N, the primary text, headline, call to actions, and then URLs and any video links. So some of these were videos. So you've got all of this here in Google Classroom. Okay, so you can have a look at previous media plans, some examples as well. Sky?
I have started making one. Can I share it so you can tell me your opinion, if that's all right?
Sorry, you've done already?
Yeah. Would you like to see to tell me?
In your team.
Okay.
Teams, and then I'll come into the teams one by one and provide feedback. If you've started one, that's absolutely fine. The homework will be for you to submit this at the end, your initial draft, so that I can provide feedback tomorrow afternoon so that you've got a better idea of where you are on Thursday. This is all really to help you prepare for a Thursday, because otherwise it's too much information just to do on Thursday. Okay. Are there any questions? Oya?
Are we doing this individually or like as a group kind of thing?
As a team. So someone download the media plan, share your screen, and then as a team, discuss each column and what you need to basically add in each one. Okay. Some information will be quicker. You'll have it ready to go. And others you might need to discuss a bit more, like the audiences and so on. Yeah.
This is a lot of information.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go into breakouts probably till about, we'll do an hour, I think, Ifra. So if you want to go into your breakouts, if anyone wants to take a quick 5-minute break, that's fine. You can go into your breakouts. We'll do the 5-minute break there. And I'm happy to come into Teams. Just put your hand up and I'll come in and provide some feedback. Yeah.